Dark Armed Ojama Orcust. Now these three things actually go very well together, and it all centers around one card for our deck, Ojama. Now, Ojama says that you can send another Ojama card from your hand or space up fields to your graveyard, and then you get to add an Ojama monster with a different name and one Armed Dragon monster from your deck and or graveyard to your hand. Then immediately after this effect resolves, you can normal summon one of those monsters. Now, this is beneficial for so many reasons, right? Number one, we get Dark Armed Dragon to our hand with this effect because it counts as an Armed Dragon monster. Number two, because of our skill Land of the Ojamas, we automatically have something that we could send the grave. Ojama Country is a field spell for this deck that will automatically be activated with our skill, so we can have a sort of free thing to send away, and Ojama Match becomes a free +1 at that point, right? Because you lose the Ojama Match, you lose the field spell that you get from your skill, but then you get to add 2 cards from your deck to your hand. So you basically, if you're going first, instead of having 4 cards, you have 5 cards in your hand going first. And then you get a normal summon that Ojama monster to the field, which can be really useful if you have another Orcust monster in your hand that you can normal summon, because that's actually going to let you combo, because you just need 2 effect monsters, and only one of them needs to be an Orcust to go into your Galatea. So you can very easily go Ojama Match, add your Dark Armed and your Ojama monster to hand, summon in blue, normal summon Harpour, go into Galatea, go into your full combo, and then you're going to have a Dark Armed Dragon in your hand to follow up with on your next turn, or to drop on that turn if you're going second against your opponent. So really cool synergy with this card in the deck. It does have some consistency issues, which is why this is definitely not the best way to play Orcust. Your Ojama Blue is definitely a brick, and your Dark Armed Dragons can kind of be dead cards in hand too, especially if you're going first and you don't have back row to protect yourself, which is kind of the big problem I feel like this version of the deck has, is you have consistency issues with your Ojama cards. You also are not able to run as many back row. I suppose we could cut some things like the Orchestrator Returns and the level 1 Orcust monster and try to help solve that a little bit, but either way, it's still going to be some problems with this deck when it comes to consistency. So nonetheless, so Ojama Match is a great card for the deck. We're also running some of the other basic Orcust strategies here with this deck. We have the Scrap Recycler play, we have Phantom Sky Blaster in here, we of course have the One of Trap card, the spell cards to get to our combos, Book of Moon, standard back row cards in here as well. Dark Armed Dragon also has a lot of synergy just because Orcust can better control their graveyards and the number of dark monsters in their graveyard better than pretty much any other deck in Duel Links. I was actually toying with this idea, Orcust Dark Armed Dragon, even before the new support came out a few months back. Didn't work out so good because Orcust didn't have the tools necessary at that time without Galatea and Dingirsu, but now that they do, I'm really happy to finally give this deck another shot and for it to actually be really effective, and this deck is pretty effective with what you're trying to do here. So I hope we don't get any of the Orcust cards hit to limit 3 so we continue to use Dark Armed Dragon with this deck, because it's a really cool card that we can toy with this thing. There are some changes I might consider making this deck. I mentioned cutting the spell cards as well as the level 1. That would also, I think, give us the ability to cut the Link Karibo and find extra room in our extra deck for another card. That would be useful because we do need more space in our extra deck for other things. But beyond that, like I said, it's pretty much your standard Orcust deck, really. You're going to turn 1, go into your Galatea and your Dingirsu, try to end with your trap card and have some kind of setup to stop your opponent, or if you're going second, you're going to try to OTK them with Dark Armed Dragon plays, and that's going to happen fairly often as well because, again, your Ojama Match is actually very consistently going to be able to get it for you. Other than that, again, your strategy is, again, pretty much, if you've played Orcust or played against Orcust, you kind of know what the deck does. We're just throwing the Dark Armed Dragon in here and using the Ojama Match as an additional way to start up our combos. Beyond that, it plays exactly like what you would think. I'll go through the deck list really fast. As I mentioned, Land of Ojamas is our skill. We have 2 Dark Armed Dragon, 2 Orcust Harpour, 2 Phantom Sky Blaster. You can try to find room for more copies of this. It's also better to play this over the Mecha Phantom Beast monster because it's a dark attribute, so this is probably the one time where I definitely prefer this over that. We have 3 Scrap Recycler, 1 Ojama Blue, 2 Orcust Nightmare, 1 Orcust Symbol Skeleton, 1 World Legacy Worldlond, the 1 Orcust Brass Bombard, 3 Book of Moon, 3 Ojama Match, 3 Cosmic Cyclone, 3 Orchestrator Return, a single Warning Point, 1 Compulsory Evacuation Device. We can only run 1 of the Limit 3 traps because of Dark Armed Dragon. And then we have the 1 Orchestrator Release. For our extra deck, we have 1 Dingirsu, 1 Nightmare Unicorn, 2 Galatea, the 1 Link Karibo. Again, probably would consider cutting this along with maybe the Bombard and 2 Return. That would give us room for another Dingirsu or another Link monster. There's several other ones like the other Nightmare monster that are really effective. But we have Nightmare Mermaid, 1 Lungirsu, the Orcust Orchestrator, and then 1 Nightmare Phoenix, rounding out this deck list. And let's go ahead and jump into the game replays. Alright, now leading off, we are playing against what I believe is a Burning Abyss deck that's taking advantage of the Cursed Necrophere and skill that goes along with it to help filter through their deck. It actually offers up some opportunities too if he wants to play Archfiend cards as well, which they have an in-archetype Snatch deal that we need to be worried about, so I don't think we saw any of that stuff, but either way, going for his Burning Abyss plays here, able to get out Beatrice turn 1. We are very fortunate he does mill off the tour guide, so we don't have to worry about that going forward. Scrom's going to give him a Seer to hand as a result, but he does have one back row that we need to worry about. So one back row, one Beatrice that we're staring down turn 1. We have our Ojama though in our hands, so we know we can combo off with that, and we're going to do so immediately. Going to activate the Ojama, send away our Ojama country, that way that he can't like destroy this in any kind of way. It automatically sends it off per cost as well, so your opponent can't like chain MST to pop your field spell either when you do this. They can destroy your field spell turn 1 if they go first, so do be wary of that. But if they do, you can also discard another copy of Ojama in order to get to your other Ojama cards out of your deck. So, gonna go ahead and start out with our combo, and also Book of Moon our opponent's Beatrice. That way we just don't have to worry about him being able to do anything with his Beatrice here. So, go ahead and activate a card. I probably could have just Book of Moon's Moss before even doing our Ojama play, but it's fine, I didn't want him to have anything to respond to it. So, we'll go ahead and normal summon our Ojama Blue. Let him go ahead and use his Farfa and everything on this now. So, we'll go ahead and then activate our Scrap Recycler. Dump our Orcust, Harport to the graveyard. He has a Fiend Grieving to send this back, and also send an Alex to negate this thing's effect. But it's okay because we still have the Orchestrator return here in our possession. So able to set Book of Moon, not able to take him out this turn, which is really unfortunate, and that's unfortunately going to let him get to his Cursed Necrophere, use the skill till he can summon it to the field. So he's actually able to send Tour Guide back into the deck with this. This is a really cool thing that I also want to showcase that Burning Abyss can do. You can actually reuse your Tour Guide with this effect. So we're going to go ahead and just use Book of Moon to flip his Beatrice face down. We'll take the 2 hits here. Ojama Blue is going to trigger its effect though. It's going to get us the Ojama. So this is the other thing I kind of wanted to talk about in the deck profile that I forgot to mention, is that we're only running one copy of Ojama Blue, which can kind of be a brick which is definitely is a brick card, but if we draw just one copy of Ojama Blue, this deck is kind of dead. If you open up with both copies or just one copy of it and you don't have any left in your deck, the only way that you can get or activate it is if you discard like Ojama to get the Ojama Blue. So we're going to go ahead and be able to do that here, fortunately, because even regardless of whether or not we had a second Ojama Blue, you can see I was making deck list changes as I was testing out this deck. But even without that, we can still add Ojama Blue from our graveyard to our hand. So that is a little added bonus that we can do with the Ojama Blue, using its destruction effect as well as search your deck for 2 Ojama match, and then go in the combo. So we're just doing our standard Orcust plays here, summon from the deck, go into Galatea, send from deck to grave, go ahead and get a Spell Trap card set. Gonna go into the Dingirsu. This is gonna let us send away his board so we can deal with the Beatrice without destroying it, so we're not triggering her effect. He does get the Dante effect, but that's totally fine. We're not too concerned about that at this point. Gonna go ahead and go into another link play here at Galatea. We're worried about our graveyard at this point, making sure that we have 3 dark monsters in here. As you can check, by doing this play, we now have 3 in the graveyard. So let's go ahead and activate our Ojama. We're going to discard our second copy of Ojama, add back our blue from graveyard to hand, add our Dark Arm from deck to hand, and then summon both of our Dark Arm dragons. And our opponent scoops, as he knows there's nothing we can do, as we can easily blow up his board. Alright, so next up we have a matchup against Heroes. This has been one of the more popular decks of the last month or so here in Duel Links as of the time of this video. Although he's playing a Neos Fusion variant here, so not the usual sort of Hero Alliance version that we see from this deck, but it does put his monster in the graveyard, his Liquid Soldier there. He also got a back row to protect himself in addition to the Neos Fusion protecting his monster, so go ahead and take out the back row with our Cosmic Cyclone that we have in hand. It's an MST, so we can take out our Ojama country, which is actually kind of a big deal because we don't have the Ojama to use it here, and now we need 2 Ojama in hand to even use that. So we're just going to need normal Orcust combos here, it looks like, to try to defeat this. But that's okay because we have one with the Scrap Recycler. Recycler, go ahead and summon Nightmare to the field. Let's go into the Galatea here. We have 2 Orchestrator returns, so we need to utilize one of these somehow, some way. So we'll go ahead and set release here. Nightmare is going to let us send Symbol Skeleton from our deck to the graveyard. Go into Dingirsu so we can get over this Neos Knight, because we got to get rid of this thing somehow. and then we actually get lucky here. So we don't have any kind of protection. We didn't have any protection really too much. The Orchestrator at least needs 2 monsters in the field to really go into anything. And besides, we have the Symbol Skeleton in the graveyard, so we can bring something back. So let's go ahead and use up one of the return and draw into Dark Armed Dragon here, so that we can go ahead and summon Dark Armed, use the Skeleton effect to bring back the Galatea, pop his monster. We can actually clean out his board here and swing for game with it. Alright, now this is a going first game. Now this deck does quite a bit better going second, I feel, than it does going first, just because your Dark Armed Dragon gives you a lot of OTK opportunities. Going second does leave your Ojama country exposed to certain decks going first, but overall I do kind of prefer going second, just because of the Ojama Dark Arm engine. Also takes away from the amount of back row cards that we're able to have in this deck, because we just don't have as much protection going first as your average Orcust deck does, at least with their 30 card variants, I should say. So turn 1, we're going to have our Phantom Blaster combo. We're able to go into the Nightmare Mermaid, Nightmare Phoenix, Phoenix and the Mermaid, bring out another Orcust from the deck that gives us access to Galatea, and we can go into our combos here. We have a bit of an option here where we decide, do we set the trap card, or do we set the spell card? We could get the draw 2 off the Orcust Nightmare, or just set a trap card so that we have some additional protection. I decided to go ahead and go with that. We'll go into the Dingirsu here, and then we can go ahead and just set 3 back row and leave a Dingirsu with 2 materials under it and some protection cards here. I'm assuming it was going to be like Synchron or something like that, but our opponent going first just sets 3 back row, so we're going to be able to take out 2 of them. So we can use Cosmic to take out 1 of them, and then we can actually use our Orchestrator release to take out another. We'll tribute 2 machine monsters, resummon the Dingirsu from the graveyard, and then Dingirsu is going to set 1 thing from his field to the grave. So it's actually an Ancient Gear Reborn, so we're playing an Ancient Gear deck here. So go ahead and continue with our Orcust plays. We'll use the Nightmare to give an attack boost and dump Heartport into the graveyard. Gives us access to Skeleton, so we'll go ahead and go for the Galatea play here. He has the warning point to shut this down, but we can still proceed with our play. So we'll go ahead and use Symbol Skeleton, bring back the Galatea, shuffle from our banish pile back into the deck. That's going to give us Orchestrator Return, which we can use on the monster that he just hit with the warning point. And then we, of course, draw on the Dark Armed Dragon. So use the Scrap Recycler to send another monster to our graveyard, bring back another monster from the graveyard. We actually are not able to go into a way to like summon the Dark Arm this turn. We're actually running out, or have too many dark monsters in the graveyard, and this does happen occasionally. There were a few times playing with this deck where I just got too many darks in graveyard and wasn't able to manipulate my grave to get this out into the field. But in this situation, I think we're okay. We got him down to 100 life points. We have 2 back row to protect ourselves. He's only got 2 cards left in hand, so it's just not likely going to be enough here to shut us down. You can bring back the Sky Blaster if he wants. It doesn't get an effect off Special Summon. He does have a play to try to go into an XYZ play, but again, we have enough to shut it down so we get the win here. Alright, so another going first game. This time we have the Ojama match as well as Scrap Recycler and an Orcust monster in hand. So let's go ahead and go for our combo. We'll go ahead and use the Ojama match, get our Dark Arm to hand, get an Ojama monster to hand. Normal the Ojama monster with the skill, or with the card rather. Go ahead and normal summon Scrap Recycler, go into our plays. We're going to get a Galatea here. Shuffle back into our deck. Go ahead and go for our trap card here. There might be some other combos you can do with the Orcust cards, and the ones that I'm always showcasing here in the video as well. There might be other combos this deck can go into also, that someone who's better with deck building and figuring those things out can go ahead and try to do and try to make the deck even better than it is. But nonetheless, so we got a pretty good turn 1 here with 2 machines on the board for our Orchestrator release. We got a warning point set, Dark Armed in hand to follow up with Dingirsu on the board with material underneath. So in a solid spot here going first. So it is Phantom Knights. He has Ancient Cloak in hand, able to dump it to the graveyard with the skill, giving him Stained Greaves in hand. So he goes ahead and summons the Ancient Cloak. And I should have been paying more attention and realized that he had Stained Greaves to hand and not the Silent Boots to hand, because he's just going to be able to summon the Boots here and then special summon another Stained Greaves from hand. So he's able to go into his XYZ play regardless. I should have just waited to use the warning points on whatever he summons here, but that's totally fine. He goes for the Break Sword. That's going to let us use our release here. We're going to send our monster to the graveyard, bring back the Dingirsu, and then send away his Break Sword, which is really nice because it doesn't trigger its destruction effect, so it just goes away to the graveyard cleanly. He's going to go ahead and add a wing to his hand and set 2 back row. So it comes back to our turn. We've got to find a way to get this Dark Arm to the field and just pop everything, and he makes it very easy for us. He only sets 2 back row. We know one of them is the Protection Trap card, so he uses up the other one here immediately. It's a Crackdown trying to steal our monster. That's totally okay with me. You want to summon that? Or steal our monster like that? We know he doesn't have any other real protection here, so we just need to get 3 Dark Monsters in the graveyard, and we can summon Dark Armed and win this thing. So go for the Orchestrator return, discard 1 from our hand, go ahead and summon. Go ahead and decide to go ahead and use the Cosmic Cycle in here to banish his Phantom Knight's wing. I don't want him to use the wing to special summon something out of the graveyard and stop us from being able to OTK him, so I figured we'll just go ahead and Cosmic this. He's going to chain it, totally fine. The idea is just to get it out of the graveyard, banish this thing so it doesn't have to do that summon effect. So go ahead and go for another Link play. We're going for the Long Girsu this time, and count them 1, 2, 3 Darks in the graveyard, so we can summon our Dark Armed Dragon back to the board, banish, pop, destroy the Crackdown, take our monster back to the field. Let's go ahead and use our effects to summon more monsters out in the field, and he realizes there's nothing he can do at this point. We get the win here against Phantom Knights. Alright, so we have another going first game here with Ojama once again in hand. So we'll go ahead and activate it, get our searches from deck, and our normal summon. Can immediately follow up with the Scrap Recycler. And we're going to see a similar play to what we saw earlier. Go ahead and go into our Galatea. Go into our send our monster back, get a card from our deck to our field. We're going to go ahead and get the spell cards. We can try to draw into some additional back row here. Not a good idea as we didn't end up getting anything. We could have had the trap card to give us at least some protection, but that's fine. We'll just go ahead and live with it. Summon the Ningirsu to the field in defense mode with a couple of protections on there, and hopefully that's enough to help us survive. So we're playing against Cyber Dragon. Cyber Dragon, not a deck that's made a lot of noise lately, but it still has some scary things that it can do, so we got to be wary of it. He uses his skill to make his monster a level 5, letting him go into a rank 5, and he brings out the new Chronomaly monster. I mentioned this in the Spicy Deck video that I did. I don't know if it's earlier this week or coming out next week. I forget when I'm going to launch all these YouTube videos, but this monster basically says detach 2 materials from this card to negate an opponent's monster effects when they activate it. It is a quick effect, so you can do it on either player's turn to negate any monster's effect. So pretty strong card that we got out here recently. It's ideally would be used to negate the Ningirsu effect when he swings over it here. So he's going to go ahead and get access or get a Cyber Emergency to hand, search for a Cyber Dragon Naxter, use the effect to summon itself to the board, and then use that to bring back the Infinitract Harvester to his field. So this is a really cool combo. Actually, kind of another reason why I wanted to showcase this duel here was he had a really cool combo here with the Infinitracts and Cyber Dragon monsters. Not one I had actually seen before. But you can see here he's able to use their effects in order to put out numerous monsters onto the field, put out the continuous spell card Outrigger Extension while putting the Vimana out with its effect negation. So pretty cool that he's able to do this. He goes to swing over my monster. However, though, we're able to use Dingirsu's effect to protect it, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this is an effect that doesn't like activate, so he's not able to negate it with his Chronomaly monster. So we're actually able to protect our monster with its effect because it gets around the Chronomaly monster effect negation here, because it doesn't actually activate. It's just sort of a protect this card. You don't actually, it doesn't start a chain, and since it doesn't start a chain, you can't negate it with an effect like that. So we'll come back to our turn. We'll go ahead and just summon the Dark Armed Dragon immediately. Try to see what this back row is, if it's something he can even stop us with. It is a Cybernetic Overflow, so that's going to allow him to get rid of some of the things on our field. However, though, Dingirsu protects. Remember, this says if a card you control be destroyed by battle or by effect, detach 1 material from this card instead. It's not just itself. It can protect anything. So he tries to pop our Dark Armed here. It's not going to work, though, so Dark Armed Dragon, we'll go ahead and use to pop one of his cards, go for a Link Summon, go ahead and use Dark Arm's effect to clean out some of the rest of his board. He can negate with his Chronomaly monster. I don't care, because the Chronomaly monster does not destroy. This is something to note, though. The Chronomaly rank 5 XYZ that just came out, Vimana, it negates effects, but it does not destroy. So negate 1 time my Dark Arm, that's fine. We can activate its effect again, banish here, pop the monster, go ahead and use Galatea's effect, send it back, get another card set. We'll get an additional return here so we can get some more value next turn if for some reason we don't win here, but we've got this one locked up. Bring back Dingirsu, send this monster back, summon. Well over 4,000 damage here. Swing, easy win here against the Cyber Dragon deck. Alright, and this is, I believe, the final replay that we have here. This is at the very beginning of the month as well, so a lot of these are going to be at Platinum rank rather than the usual Legend rank, but that's okay. We still had some good matches that we went through with this. So, leading off, going first yet again in this game, we had the turn 1 starter with the Scrap Recycler. We have, I guess you could say, 8 starters in this deck with the 3 Recycler, the 2 Blaster, and then the 3 Ojama. Of course, with Ojama, you need something to go with it. You can't just have that and get into your full combo, but it is an additional way to start out with. So we'll go ahead and go for our combos here, get out the Galatea, get our Orcust monsters to a graveyard, bring back something, able to go into our Dingirsu, put it on the board and defense mode to protect itself, and we have a pretty solid opening here, right? We got 2 machine monsters on the board for our Orchestra to release, as well as a Book of Moon to protect ourselves. I'm just assuming that it's going to be, what do you call them? I'm blanking on their name right now. We're about to play the deck. Timelords. I'm just assuming it's Time. Anytime I see this character, you just gotta assume it's Timelords. And that's totally fine. We have a lot of ways to deal with their effects. We can just sort of like sit back and wait until we get our combo out and then kind of just blow up their field and go for the OTK here. So exactly what we're going to do here. We're going to Book of Moon as monster, go for our Dingirsu, use its effect to get rid of his empty machine. That should make one of his other 2 back rows that he set the I forget the name now, the infinite machine or whatever it's called. That's now dead. It doesn't have a target anymore, so we're looking like we're in a pretty good spot here. Go back to our turn, go ahead and draw. We'll use the Nightmare effect to get a Harpour in the graveyard. Harpour summon from the deck. Go ahead and go into the Nightmare Unicorn. Nightmare Unicorn, get rid of one of these other back row, the one that we know is not the Infinity Machine. Go ahead and bring back Ningirsu to send his monster away. We got enough to OTK him. There's nothing more we can do against us here. Easy win against the Time Lord deck. Guys, that's all the replays I have for today. If you guys like the video, please be sure to like and subscribe. I'm going to continue to work on this deck, and maybe we'll do another video on this one here in the next couple months as I continue to refine the deck, hopefully before any kind of ban list comes in and takes this thing out. But thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys like the video, please be sure to like and subscribe. It does help out the channel. Thank you guys so much, and have a wonderful rest of the day.